Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Shield, and welcome to Lunch with Lisa. It is so exciting to be here, and thank you all for joining me. Uh, I have something very exciting coming up for all of you, so please stay tuned. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now, but I'm just priming the pump, and I want you all to stay tuned because this is exciting news. Today, I want to talk about something that I spoke about in one of my groups. So, I teach a 12-week course. If anybody's interested, you can hop over to my website and click the button to watch my free presentation. That will take you to where you can sign up for a breakthrough call with me or a member of my team. And we'll talk to you about that 12-week emotionally naked dating course and how it can change your life. In one of our Q&A calls recently, I talked about the 10 signs that you are in a good relationship. And this was really a big hit for everybody. So I thought I'd go over it for all of you because I think sometimes we're in a great relationship and we don't even know it. We don't even know what to look for, what the signs are. Excuse me for one moment. Mm. I'm still getting over a bit of the flu, so please bear with me. So sometimes we're in a relationship that's going swimmingly and being women and overthinking things, we don't even realize that things are going really, really well. And we're just overthinking and complicating things. And here's this poor guy who's tripping over himself to do all the right things, and we're missing it. So, let's talk about what that looks like. So, the first thing that you would want to look for is a guy who is initiating, who's asking you out, who's planning things, especially in the future. He's making plans for things in the future that he's seeing you as somebody that he wants to date in, not just in December, but in January, in March, in June. He's really looking to the future. And that's a great sign that he really is thinking of this relationship long term. The second thing is he's integrating you into his life. And this is a big one. He is posting on Facebook that, he's in a relationship. He's not afraid to let his friends and family know. He's inviting you to meet his friends and family. He invites you to his home. If a man does not invite you to his home, there's something really wrong there. He's hiding something. So he invites you to his home. He's opening up his world. And he's also inviting you to work events or other kinds of events, a dinner with a colleague and his wife. But he wants to be seen with you and he wants you to see his world. So you don't want to be with a man who compartmentalizes, who keeps everything private, keeps things off to the side, and then doesn't include you, right? I've actually had clients tell me that they were dating men or they thought that they were seeing these guys and that they were in a relationship. And the guy actually had a party and didn't invite them. Now, a lot of you might say, oh my God, that would be a deal breaker. But these women were confused by that, and rightfully so, because they felt like other things were going well and that this was really odd that this guy didn't invite them to a party that he threw. Another way to know that you're in a great relationship is that you can't wait to call him and share with him, and you feel comfortable doing that. You feel like you can pick up the phone and call or text, and he's the person you want to call and text when something good happens or when something bad happens, and you feel very comfortable doing that. You're not trepidatious. You're not worried about whether you'll be disturbing him. You're very comfortable, and you know that he'll always be happy to hear from you. The fourth thing is you're developing a deep friendship. So many of us put the cart before the horse. We jump into sex too quickly. And when I say quickly, I mean before 6 or 8 weeks. Having actual intercourse or sex before you really build a friendship with a man is not a good idea. And I'm not down on casual sex. Look, that's up to anybody what your boundaries are around sex. But if you're looking for a loving, lasting, emotionally naked relationship that will go the distance, I really encourage you not to put the cart before the horse. It's very difficult if you become lovers before you become friends to then go back and establish the friendship second once you've already made the leap into bed. You actually want to get emotionally naked before you get physically naked. And many of us have been down that road before. We know where it led. It can bring up all kinds of insecurity and uncomfortable feelings. As women, we often feel once we've slept with a man, if we don't know him well, and if we really aren't certain about his intentions before we do that, it's very easy to feel like we've given all of our power away. And you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that this man has both feet in and that you're developing that deep friendship first. The next one is that you feel safe and secure with him, not high in the sky. So one of the problems is that we have been taught to look for these exalted feelings, these fireworks, over the top feelings. Oh my God, I met this guy and he's so amazing and I've never felt like this. And I think this is it. That's going to flame out. And many of us have been there too, where a guy is love bombing us or he's like all in too quickly. And then suddenly we turn around after we've slept with him or after a few months have gone by and we realize that it was all just chemistry and we left too quickly. The kind of relationship I'm talking about, a guardian of your soul relationship, is one where you feel safe and secure, where it feels grounded, and you're building something from the bottom up instead of the top down. Very important. The sixth thing is you're having open communication that brings you closer and doesn't create distance. So when you share something incredibly intimate, like sex or an intimate conversation, he doesn't disappear for the next 3 days and then come back and leave you wondering what happened. That creates a lot of insecurity because you felt so close and then he disappears, he pulls away. You want a man who's going to come closer to you after you have a wonderful conversation or a great intimate evening. And you want him to call you the next day or text you and say, I had a wonderful time and you're really something and I can't wait to do this again. So that's a sign of a man who really is into you and wants to get closer to you. He doesn't come close, then pull away, then come close and pull away. The seventh sign is that you're not attracted to anyone else. All you really want to do is be with him. You want to share with him. You want to be in his company. And you're not looking around or thinking about other guys or wanting to see what else is out there. You really feel that this person is fulfilling. I remember when I met my husband, Benjamin, and we were on our fifth date. And I realized I was falling in love with him. We had gone to this sort of trendy restaurant in Los Angeles called Whist, and we were laying out by the pool. It was at night, and all of the the tables were outside around the swimming pool, and we were sitting there, and I looked around, and we were lying on a lounge chair together, and we were sharing a martini, and I thought to myself, "Oh my God, like this man, this life, this, right? If it never got any better than this, it would be enough." And that was really the most extraordinary feeling. I knew right then and there that this man would held such promise and that it couldn't get any better than that. And I can tell you that it was enough and it is enough. And I really felt that. And there's never been another man that's ever even for a moment where I've looked at that guy and thought, I don't know. There's something really great about you. Benjamin's the one that I have eyes for. Number 8 is that he encourages you to be yourself. He really likes who you are, and he encourages you to be that person. He's not trying to fix you or change you or make you be less than you are or more than you are, right? He just encourages you to be yourself, and it feels good. You feel seen, you feel validated, you feel like this is a man who really gets you. Number 9 is that when he does give you feedback, you don't feel criticized, you feel encouraged. So he doesn't put you down, he lifts you up. And he does it with kindness. So people can give feedback and it can feel very judgy. It can feel mean and judgmental. And you come away thinking, wow, he doesn't like me very much, or you feel kind of icky, right? When some people give you feedback. And there are people who can give you feedback that make you feel great, right? It comes from love and you feel you feel seen and you feel loved and you feel like this is really something that somebody has put thought and care into how he's saying it, and that he cares about your feelings. My husband is so kind in the way he gives me feedback. He does it so beautifully, and he never makes me feel like I've done something wrong or like I'm bad or like, he never puts me down ever, even when he does give me feedback. So it's done in a very, very loving way. And finally, the way you know that you're in a really good relationship is that you want the same things. You share similar values. You enjoy spending your time in a similar way. This is another sign that you are in a great relationship. The most important part of a relationship is having similar values. So in my first relationship, my first husband was not Jewish. Now, I'm not Jewish. I mean, I'm Jewish, but I'm Jewish. I'm not super religious. I don't go to temple. I haven't for years. I don't even celebrate the holidays unless somebody happens to invite me, but I don't think I've done that in years. But I also knew that I was raised in a Jewish family. Both of my parents were Jewish, and I was raised. We did celebrate the holidays then. We were reformed, but I knew that a man who was raised in a similar way to me was going to be a perfect match because my being Jewish really spoke to core values within me. And so I looked for men who were Jewish, and my husband and I are aligned on so many things. It's really crazy just how much we think the same way, how we look at the world in the same way, how we value similar things. And it's important to have that alignment with somebody, to have it because, and we love to do similar things. Both of us, we're not athletic. We love our careers. We spend a lot of time working. We're very service oriented. Um, we'd rather go to dinner and the movies than go for a hike. So we really are very much aligned in the way we see the world and in the way we like to share our free time, which is important because any couple is going to be sharing a lot of their free time together, hopefully. And you want somebody who enjoys doing the same things as you. I don't want to go camping. I don't want to get in an RV and drive around. I want to get on an airplane. I like traveling in style, and so does my husband. So we really love traveling in the same way. Those things are very, very important. And I'm going to give you two bonus ones. The first is that if you really want to know that this guy is all into you and he's really excited about you, he's going to be initiating and sharing details of his life that he normally wouldn't tell other people. So things about his health and his finances and his kids, his previous marriages. He will be filling you in on very important details of his life, especially regarding health and finances, because he wants you to know what you're getting into. So I have seen this. Often they will also put the brakes on sex themselves. They will say, I don't want to rush into anything, including sex, because they want to make sure that this is a good fit and they're really looking for a partner and they're actually considering you as a partner. I don't know if some of you have heard the terms long game and short game. There are men who play the short game with women who they know they just want to sleep with, but they don't want to have anything long term with that woman. And then when they meet a woman who they really, really, really like and they think has long term potential, they will play the long game. They will not try to put the moves on her quickly. They will actually slow down the whole sexual part of the relationship and move much slower on that front because they're looking at the long game and not the short game. And they actually see you as a potential life partner. And then the second bonus one is humor. If you're laughing together, if you get each other's sense of humor, this is one of the most important things of all. Life can be so hard. My husband, I actually was traveling. I came home. I got the flu. I gave it to him, and he wound up in the hospital with pneumonia. And the beautiful thing is, even though he was in there for 3 days, we were able to laugh together. I sat there with him in the hospital and we reminisced about how it seems always on Thanksgiving something goes awry. 7 years ago, he got typhus and wound up in the hospital right around Thanksgiving. And then 2 years later, I was in our backyard and I was doing some gardening and didn't realize we had a plant that was highly toxic. And I was getting some of the dead leaves off of it, and I touched my eye and it had a sap, and I wound up in the emergency with this horrible, horrible stinging in my eyes from this plant that I had been playing with. So yeah, don't garden without gloves. But we were laughing how this always seems to happen every so many years around Thanksgiving. And as bad as it was, we had each other and we both had our senses of humor. So, and that's really been a gift in our relationship. I think Benjamin and I spend 80% of our time just laughing together, which is really wonderful. So these are some of the signs that you're really in a great relationship and that this man that you're seeing is very much into you, that he really is looking at you as a potential long-term partner. So I would love to hear from some of you. I know there's a lot of people listening right now, and I'd love to know, do you have any questions about anything I said? I'm going to open this up for a few minutes because I finished earlier than usual. And any questions, any of you in a relationship that you're not quite sure of, you don't know where it's going, and you're not sure if he's the right guy, I would love to hear from my audience. And if you have any questions or any comments about what I said, I would love to hear you share or post them if you can. And just, I'm here for the next few minutes to answer questions. And they can be any kind of question about dating, about men, about relationships, about how to find great men. So I'm here, and I can't keep talking because I get tired of hearing myself talk. So any feedback is great if you all want to chime in and just post your questions. So I'll share a little story about my husband. I can tell you, I knew that he was really serious very quickly because the very first gift he gave me was a AAA card. We'd been dating for a little while, and out of the blue, he said to me, I just got my new AAA card, and I wanted to see if, they said that there was a place to put someone else on the card if I had anybody I wanted to add. So I went ahead and added you. And he said, I know you probably have a AAA card, but I get the deluxe version, whatever that is. And he said, so I thought I'd just put you on there. And I knew that, it was just a small gesture, but somebody doesn't do something like that if he's not really serious about you and about a future with you. So it was really sweet. I don't know if, we had broken up, if he would have asked for the AAA card back. Knowing him, he wouldn't have done that. But I think that that's very funny. So someone wrote in, hi, Lisa. We have dated for going on 3 months now, exclusive. He seems to be the right guy. Is meeting his family or my family this holiday okay? Do I ask? Absolutely. Absolutely. So 3 months is 3 months. My husband and I were pretty clear that we were going to spend the rest of our lives together at 3 months. So I think that people who know and who are mature and adult enough and who have been in relationships know, they have a good sense, if you're pretty mature and you're grounded and your feet are on the ground and this person seems to be showing up steadily and all, I think that that's, you can have a good sense of things at 3 months. So my suggestion would be to just bring it up and say, hey, I don't know if this is too soon for you or not. I thought I'd put it out there and just see what your thoughts are about this, and share with him and say, the holidays are coming up and it would be lovely to meet your family, and I would love for you to meet mine. Are you open to that? And then you have to sit back and listen for his answer. So you want to put it out there, not as this is how it has to be, but what do you think about this? And then let him weigh in and see if he's ready to do that. And good luck with that. So Liz says, I dated someone in the past and we connected again. I feel my heart is open now. I've grown and we have been having phone conversations. I feel excited to go on a date tomorrow. Liz, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And it's great to go back and reconnect with somebody where you felt that there was something there and maybe it didn't work out the first time around. But I've seen a lot of people do work on themselves and come back. In fact, I have many women who go through my program, my 12-week emotionally naked dating course, and wind up back with an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend in a relationship. And many, many, many times the women will go through my course and then they'll say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize all the things I was doing wrong. And here I had this great guy. He's so wonderful. And I didn't even realize how I was shaming him, how I was emasculating him, how I wasn't really listening to him, how I wasn't mirroring his masculinity back to him. So I think this is really wonderful. And please let us know how it goes. I know you come on these calls every so often. I'd really love to hear how it goes. And we have another person who wrote and said, I am in a new old relationship. We went out 30 years ago and I was the one who got away. We have all these signs and it's been wonderful. No sex yet. Did have it back then. Not sure how long my boundaries should be. And we are 2 hours apart, but think this is lifetime special. Not sure what the next step should be. He did go to a party with me and met all my family. Wow, that is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love this. I love this. Um, I have known many, many, many people who have gotten back together after many years. I have a wonderful woman who went through my program, absolutely beautiful woman. And part of my course is where the women go and they do a whole history of all of their relationships. And they look at where they might have made some mistakes. There's a whole lot to this whole part of the course. But this one woman went back and she went through all of her relationship history. And what she saw was that of all the guys she had dated in her whole life, her very first boyfriend was the one man who was really secure and who had been a great guy. And she cut it off. She was the one that got away. And what happened was she realized that she had blown it. It was so sweet. It was really, really heartbreaking because he had been in the military and he had actually gotten out of the military so he could spend his life with her. And she broke it off and didn't realize how much he loved her. So she went on Facebook and she found his sister and she asked the sister, would it be okay if I reached out to him? And the sister said, I think he'd be very happy to hear from you. And so she wrote to him not to get back together, but just to apologize for what she'd done. He was so happy to hear from her that they started talking and corresponding and getting on Zoom calls. Then he flew out to see her. And then he actually moved to her city. They didn't move in together. He rented an apartment nearby and now they're together. So it was very, very, very sweet. And sometimes we don't realize, we just don't know what we don't know. And she thought she was too young to be with him at the time. And so she didn't want to, stop her career and her life and all. But here he'd been holding a torch for her all these years. I don't think 2 hours is too far away. I think that I've seen many, many relationships. In fact, my husband and I lived in Los Angeles in the same city. And in traffic, it could, we could be an hour and a half or 2 hours apart just because we lived on opposite sides of LA. So 2 hours really isn't that far. And if two people really want to make it work, they find a way. They just do. I think the fact that he went to a party and he met your family, it sounds like things are really going beautifully, just beautifully. And I would give it a little bit of time just for things to, progress and evolve. And you can start talking about next steps and just start saying, hey, have you thought, I'm curious. I love that line. I'm curious. And then you can say, have you given any thought to how we're going to deal with the distance or how this is going to look, how, this relationship will look, 3 months from now or 6 months from now. So you can put those things out there hypothetically and then just sit back and see what he says. And one great thing to know about men, don't ever say, what do you feel about this? Or how do you feel about this? You always want to say, what do you think about this? So you can ask a woman how she feels about something. Always ask a man what he thinks about something. All right. And Marianne, it's lovely to see you here, and Diane too. And Liz wrote, I went back to all the men I dated and realized Mark is a good man. Ha, here we go. Proof of what I've been saying. I reached out to him and he was happy to hear from me, and we started having phone conversations. He said he is interested in seeing me and starting a friendship and taking things slow. And Liz, I like it when, when a man says he's going to take things slow. You also want to make sure that slow doesn't mean that it's not evolving into a relationship. So if it's 3 months, that's a good benchmark just to check in and take a temperature reading to see how things are going. He doesn't have to commit or make some big statement or anything, or decide your whole future together. But it's a good point in a relationship just to take a temperature reading of how things are going. And again, what do you think about us? What do you think about where this relationship is going? I would love to know your thoughts. So someone says, how did you know Benjamin was really into you even on your first date? I've heard you say you were clear in his interests from day one. Almost everyone I know who is with the guardian of their soul have mentioned their guy was clear in his interests from the very beginning, even when the connection evolved and progressed over time. That's a great question. So the way I knew, no, I couldn't say from date. I could tell that Benjamin was very interested on the first date. I didn't know where it would go. And one of the things that I had learned about relationships, which I think is really important to realize when you're dating and you're, in the very early stages of a relationship, it's very important not to project. And projection can be positive projection or negative projection. But much of what we're seeing, we're all human beings are perceiving things through their own filters. So what I may see wouldn't be what you may see. What Benjamin saw wasn't what I saw. All human beings are looking through their own perceptual filters. So what I would do is I would go on a date and I would look at this guy and I would say, okay, I really like what I'm seeing. He seems like a great guy. I like his energy. I like how present he is. I like his kindness. And I would really take note of the things I was noticing about somebody. And then in the next breath, I would say to myself, and you don't know him yet. You're just getting to know him. So I would remind myself that this is what I was seeing, but I needed more evidence to make sure that what I thought I saw was real. And I stayed in that balance for quite a while. Now, I know I mentioned a few minutes ago that on our fifth date, I pretty much knew, that I was falling in love with him. What I didn't add is that there were 3.5 weeks in between with our first date and our second date. So it was quite a bit of time that Benjamin and I had actually known each other before we had that fifth date, because I had been traveling for business for 3.5 weeks. So it was a pretty long period of time, probably almost about 2 months when we had our fifth date. And it gave me a lot of time to really think about who he was, how he was showing up. The thing with Benjamin and with anybody who's really secure, there's a calmness they're not hiding anything. You can feel that they really are consistent in reaching out to you. There's a level of honesty, there's a level of transparency. So there's something that this person, an energy that they're putting out. They're not in a rush. It's not hurried. They're not love bombing you, but there's a very consistent, steady way that they're going about things. Another thing that was just incredible about Benjamin was like, he would ask me on a date, would you like to do whatever? And then the next morning, he would call me and say, I got 2 tickets to see that movie or that play I mentioned last night. So he would literally let me know the next morning at like 10 a.m. that he had done it. And that really is his nature. He's always been that way. Like if he says he'll do something, he does it like that day or right away. And that showed me again how much he really wanted me to know that he meant what he said and that he followed through with things. A lot of times you'll meet guys and they'll say, oh, let's get together, or how would you like to have another date? And then they don't follow through. There's something about the way they're going about it where they leave you hanging a lot and you get anxious in those in between times. Benjamin never left me hanging. And I never felt anxious, in the in between times. I always felt like we had our next date planned, that he was on top of things, that if he said we were going to see each other, we were going to see each other. So, yeah, I may not have known exactly on the first date, but I knew pretty quickly just by his consistency. So Diane said, oh, I think I jumped one. Diane said, I was in a good relationship. We both had solid similarities. Together, I was about in my late 30s, and he was about 4 years younger than me. We hardly had that time together. He was hardworking as a graphic designer, and I was a school teacher. In the end, there were dark moments to do with his son. He and I ended it. Skin deep, painful, but it was for the best for both. He didn't want to drag his problems into the mix. I'm really sorry to hear, Diane, that your ex, had a child and that there were issues with his son. It's totally understandable. Children are sort of the, monkey wrench in all of this. And they do shift things, even for couples who love each other very much and have children. It can really switch the dynamic in ways that nobody's prepared for. And that is one of the things that can really, really, really end good relationships. So I'm sorry to hear that. Someone else wrote, we have dated for 2.5 months. We seem to do everything that shows healthy long-term relationship. We are exclusive. Yesterday, I really, really like you, and it's growing every day. And then he said he's falling for me. And I only said, aw, what should I say? I want him to fall in love as I am. I really like him too, but for sure he likes me more. Well, first of all, I'd say that if he likes you more, that may be scaring you a little bit. You may be a little bit scared because you can feel his interest, and it may be scary because it's real. And we all want these relationships, many of us want romantic relationships, but then when we get them, it can bring up a lot of fear. What if I lose it? What if he's not the right one? What if I say yes and I fall in love with him and then he rejects me? There's a lot of underlying fear that most of us aren't even aware of when it comes to getting into a committed relationship. So I would first of all look at this idea that he likes you more, and I would look at where you're withholding, where you might be holding back, and why you're not receiving these beautiful gestures that he's making with an open heart, and why you're not stepping fully into this, where you're holding back and why. So that's the first thing that comes up for me. 2.5 months is 2.5 months, so it's still very new. But it sounds like there's real promise here. You are exclusive. And he said, he really, really likes you and it's growing every day. And that's really lovely that he's being communicative and he's sharing his feelings with you. So it's important that you take note of that. And if you don't want him to stop saying those things, then you have to be receptive and not just say, but meet his vulnerability with yours. So imagine if you opened up and you were vulnerable and you shared your most vulnerable feelings with somebody and he kind of said, or that's nice. How would you feel? And put yourself in his shoes and ask yourself, what kind of response would he have wanted? And that's the response you need to give him. And if you're not quite there, then maybe that's something you need to communicate to him too. Maybe you need to say, wow, it is so lovely to hear that. I can't tell you how sweet it is to know that you're feeling that way. I might be moving a little bit more slowly or a little bit slower than you are, but just know that I'm enjoying this. I love getting to know you, and I really like where I see things going. So even if you're not quite there yet, you need to communicate with him and not just say, okay. Diane says, I loved him and my mother had respect for the previous relationship I had. He was one of the best relationships I had. Aw, Diane, I'm sorry that you lost the relationship. So you gave yourself, Lisa, to take the next step with Benjamin, meaning it took a while, like a step-by-step process. Yeah, it was a step-by-step process. I mean, I didn't just jump in. I didn't get ahead of myself. I was very grounded. It was, and we took it slowly. We really did. I mean, we knew within 3 months that we were going to spend our lives together, but it was a slow process. It really was. And there were beautiful moments along the way. On our second date, we went to an event. There were all these tables set up outside on this woman's lawn, and it was an event. They brought shaman from the rainforest to talk about the devastation of the rainforest, and we were there. And Benjamin and I were talking, and they came and they were starting to fold up the chairs at our table, and we looked around and we realized everybody had gone, like the whole party had cleared out, and he and I were the last table, two people at the last table sitting there, and that was our second date. But we didn't make up a story about it. We didn't. We just thought, oh my goodness, how beautiful was that we lost track of time. But we didn't say, oh, this must mean we're meant to be together. There were some other synchronicities, even, along the way. And we just thought that they were beautiful signs and lovely things. But, we shared some good friends in common. I had read one of his books. Benjamin wrote 4 beautiful books. One of the books is called Handbook for the Heart. And I read the book coincidentally right before I met him, maybe a month before. It's a collection of essays about love. And it's really, really beautiful. He has an essay in the book that is outstanding and one of the most beautiful essays I've ever read about love. And then, a month and a half after I read the book, I met him. I didn't even realize he was the author until our first date. So I think I'm going to end it there. This has been a joy and a pleasure. We do another broadcast on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So I do that with my husband, Benjamin. It's called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. Please join us for that. You can also rate and like my podcast. I really appreciate every single comment, good, bad, or indifferent. We really want to know what you're thinking. Please tell everyone you know about these broadcasts. We really appreciate you spreading the word. And finally, go to lisashield.com and click the button on my beautiful new website to watch my free 45-minute presentation. I'm very, very proud of it. Women tell me all the time that they learn so much from watching it. And if you do want to jump on a call with us, you can stay to the end of that presentation, and there's an opportunity to book a call to talk to me or a member of my team, and let us help you get this solved. Don't waste more time. Time is precious. You'll never get it back. So please, please, please talk to us. Let us show you how our program can work for you. And very last of all, we love your suggestions. If you have them, please write to us at podcast@lisashield.com. We read every single email that comes in, and we love hearing from our audience. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being here, and lots of love. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.